Hello, my name's Richard, and today I'd like to talk about easy and hard languages. People often ask me, what is easy and what's hard to learn in terms of languages? I will answer the question, but from the point of view of a native English speaker. Languages have varying degrees of difficulty depending on the level to which you learn them. Certain languages are more difficult for native English speakers than for, say, a native Mandarin speaker. To answer the question, I'm going to use a system that's employed by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in the United Kingdom. The Foreign Office in the UK, when they send diplomats overseas to embassies, they sometimes send them on courses to learn the language of the host country. This covers a wide array of languages in the world, so the training has to be tailored in order to get that person up to the level that's required for their job in that embassy. Okay, so how are these languages classified? The languages are classified in 5 groups, from class 1, which is the hardest, to 2, 3, 4, and then 5, which is the easiest for a native English speaker to learn. When you consider each language group and the languages within those groups, and you think about how difficult or easy it is to learn a particular language, then you have to think of the 4 main skills required to communicate in that language. And they are speaking, reading, writing, and listening. Each component in a given language could be particularly difficult or particularly easy. Class 1 languages in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office include Mandarin, Cantonese, Japanese and Korean. And the reasons why these 4 in particular would be in the group is because they are the most alien to native English speakers. Their writing systems could be particularly complicated, or levels of formality in say for Korean, or the pronunciation, say for Cantonese, is particularly difficult for a native English speaker. Class 2 languages are also considered to be quite difficult to learn, so languages such as Thai, Finnish and Arabic. Again, the reasons why these would be difficult are, for example, writing systems, pronunciation, or very complicated grammar. Class 3 languages tend to have quite complex grammatical structures, case systems, and perhaps verbal aspect, which you'd see in the Slavic languages, like Russian, Czech, Polish. Class 4 languages are getting closer to our own native tongue. They may have slightly more complicated grammar than English, but they're not so far away to make them particularly difficult for us to learn and to be able to communicate in. And then we get to the class 5 languages. These are languages like French, Spanish, Italian, Dutch. These languages are, for an English speaker, fairly easy in relative terms to learn. That is because English by nature is a Germanic language, grammatically speaking. And we also have, obviously, because of our Germanic heritage, a lot of Germanic words in common with Dutch and Swedish and even German in English. English also benefits from a lot of words from Latin. They came into our language through the Norman French and give us a huge vocabulary in any of the Latin languages really without trying. So if you have a good command of the English language, then you should find it quite easy to read text relatively quickly in any of the Latin languages. So the way languages are subdivided into groups depends very much on 4 factors, and they are the grammatical structures that are used in the language. How difficult is the grammar? The vocabulary used, is it extremely different to the language you already speak, in this case English? Is it a language that uses, say, Latin words like English, so that would therefore make it more accessible to a native English speaker? So pronunciation, you're looking at issues such as tones in a language, or difficult consonants to pronounce, or perhaps consonant clusters. So for example, in English we tend to have a few consonants together, but we don't have, so for example, like in say Czech, where you could have 3, 4, up to 5 consonants together, which you would need to pronounce. It makes it quite difficult. The word zmrzlina in Czech comes to mind, which means ice cream. And then you have to consider the script. So is it using an alphabet, first of all, or is it using characters like Chinese? Or is it using a mixture of an alphabet and characters like Japanese? These things do influence how difficult a language is to learn, because it's not something that you can pick up overnight. The language levels within the Foreign Office were always extensive, which was an extensive knowledge of the language indicating somebody who has a native or near native level in the language. Then there's operational, whereby you speak the language with a great deal of fluency. You can attend meetings and contribute quite readily to a conversation without any problems. Then there's a functional level, which is, you can get by doing basic things, so answering the phone, taking messages. You could, perhaps even have a fairly basic conversation in the language, and obviously talking about yourself and family, etc., etc. But maybe not being able to work in the language per se. And then there would be a basic level, which would basically be your pleasantries. Hello, how are you? My name is. Yes, can I have the bill, please? That kind of stuff. Each of those levels would take a different length of time to reach in any language. Good luck with your language learning.